There is emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multi-dimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine, infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show, hosted by Elizabeth Monroy, every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time.
Okay, hello, my divine, infinite human beings, world that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And we're back this week with the great Eon Parks. And last week we discussed Tartarian technology versus artificial technology and the differences, which are huge. It's like one is like arsenic and the other is like pure healing water from the mantle of earth. So, and this week we're going to go into it a little bit more in detail. And I just want to welcome back Eon. Welcome back.
Hello, nice to be back.
Okay, and Eon, I've invited him because he's an amazing soul, and he has such an expanded perspective because he is both a student of colonic science and also passionate about Tartarian technology, and happens to live in England where there abounds. There's so much around. So last week we talked about the basis of how it pulls free electricity from the ethers, and we got into all kinds of teleportation and everything. And this week, I just wanted to share some videos because the truth is, when I spent the winter months in the Yucatan, and I went to a place where there was really no high five OG trees, because I knew that if I could get out of those lower frequencies, I would feel amazing. And I did. I experienced something called inner sounds. You know, they're like listening to violins and symphony. It's like listening to an orchestra. Well, my inner sounds were off the chart and my body was healing rapidly. There was a girl there that had terminal cancer and they had no hope for her. And she came there and she healed it. They couldn't find it anymore. So this was my belief that, you know, our earth in its grids are purging itself, are clearing itself, and organic life is ascending through the Crystal River fail-safe hosts and the Nomi seed activations, but the parasites are really going to bat, trying to hold on to whatever they can through their artificial technology or artificial, I don't call it intelligence, I call it stupidity. So, I kind of had, I had wanted to create kind of new earth communities in these areas, but unfortunately those areas also are heavily guarded by very parasitic beings, you know, because I had a mishap. I had a lot of money stolen from me there, and I was kind of hijacked in a Mormon community, you know. So I was kind of disheartened until I came back to Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, and I went to a resort an hour and a half away, and I couldn't believe it. I went there and I felt the same high frequencies. I didn't want to leave. And there is the second largest dome in the world. It's actually the largest dome that is still functioning. It's second only after the Astrodome, which is now closed, I found out, and I understand why, because these frequencies were off the chart. I mean, I even felt like I may have met some time travelers there, because there was a couple dressed from 19th century. So let me see if I can get this thing working here. This, if you can see it, can you see it? Can you see it, Ian?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, this is Malta, and this. Okay, see that's the dome in Malta, and of course Malta's ancient. We expect to see something like that there, and I felt amazing there. You know, you walk in and you just get this jolt of very high energy. This is in French Lick, Indiana, a little place in the middle of nowhere. Look at that.
Yeah.
And I felt amazing there. I'm very frequency sensitive, and that's an oscillating thing, and it's just amazing. Let's see here. That was the guy who worked with me. So this, when I had that experience, I realized these structures are all over the world. That was one of those structures that they said they built in a year. They said they built it in a year, and the same person that built the Chicago World's Fair. And
they're all Freemasons, aren't they? They're just coming up with like a fake history. It's just a load of it's BS, isn't it? Well, basically, it's just a load of BS. Now, that last video that you just showed me there, the dome, you sent me that last night, and I was having a little look at it. If you look at the geometry of the, like when you look straight up, it's 2 clock faces. It's 24. If you count the lines going around, it's 24 lines. There's 2 clock faces there. Now,
like a cosmic clock, like the cosmic clock.
Yeah. It's a template. It's essentially a template. Now, if you follow when you follow Aisha's teachings, there's a particular template called the Elorian Chambers, and basically a clock face is obviously 12. Now, the angle from 12 to 1 is 30 degrees. Now, the half step in between is they create 24, so it's like 2 clock faces. Not that one, the second video. And basically, the normal clock face lines, the lines going from like 12 to 6, 3 to 9 on a clock face. Event horizons, if you want to call them that. So 12 of them are on our PCM universe. This is creation mechanics, and the other 12 are on the PKA parallel side. So it creates like a sort of a template which spans both.
So one's electric, one's magnetic. One's electric, one's magnetic, right?
Kind of. There's two. The reality has always got 2 sides. There's like there's a PCM particle universe, and then there's a PKA parallel universe, and creation always takes place with these 2 elements of it together. It's like 2 sides of the same coin type of thing. Now, in that structure there that you've just paused, that's 24. The angles of 24. I believe that's the Elorian chambers. They were using that geometry to create very specific resonances inside that building for whatever reason. Who knows what they were actually doing? But that building itself will be a huge resonant chamber, and in there, I'm sure there would have been a huge pipe organ. If it's not there now, there would have been in the past. And then each note on the keyboard plays a specific sound frequency, which comes out of the big pipe, and then these sound frequencies combine in the air. The vibrations will combine in the air, and it combines with the etheric energy inside it, and the geometry of the templates, the way all the geometry of the building is made, and it will supercharge like a highly. It'll be like it's all to create a highly charged, focused, and tuned electromagnetic field inside that chamber, and they can use that field to do very interesting template mechanics. Yes, healing, teleportation, opening portals, all kinds of stuff they were doing with that.
Well, I want also one of the things that just freaked me out, because I'm used to these ancient limestones, huge blocks here in Malta. Malta has them all over the place. But under this hotel that was built in the 1900s, just in 1 year, there was these massive limestone blocks I want to show you that they just had excavated. It was actually, I think, a billionaire that was in a doctor had bought it, and I think he was trying to bring this stuff forward, but and I mean, it just amazed me. This is the structure outside, and you can also see the windows that disappear, the disappearing windows. And let me see if I can fast forward to this here. Let's see this. Okay, and it looks just like Europe, which freaked me out because as American, we're so used to, we just have square buildings and the skyscrapers, and I mean, it's just so boring. I hate even living there and being there because it's so boring. But this looks like one of, I mean, it looks like I'm going through the Uffizi or some ancient palace in Europe.
Yeah.
And then, and it's all about Pluto. It's all been okay. So here we have this. This is can you see that?
Yes.
Massive limestones, and that
looks
just like something that we would see in Malta, and that's in this nowhere, Indiana. Okay, and of course, as Americans, we were taught that the only history we have are just Indians that ran around in teepees or nomadic tribes, and we have these ancient stones that are there. So to me, that was further proof that Tartaria was everywhere, and that these ancient stones, they all look the same, like you said. It's the dome technology, it's with the crosses, it's the cathedrals, it's the pediments, it's all the same architecture that is all created for resonance.
Yes.
You want to speak to that? So
yeah, so as I briefly mentioned,
the disappearing windows, by the way, that I filmed.
Yes, that's a whole topic in itself. That
and all the telltale signs. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, in Liverpool, there's a very famous street called Lime Street, and the reason why it's called Lime Street is because all the buildings are made out of limestone. Big, huge, massive Tartarian old world buildings. In fact, in Liverpool, opposite Liverpool Lime Street train station, there's a huge Tartarian structure called St. George's Hall. And I've read somewhere that he's called King Charles now, isn't it? King Charles. That's his favourite building in the UK. I've read. I wonder why. I've read that the reason why they built these buildings out of limestone is because it was something to do with running the frequencies, the etheric frequencies. It's not just limestone. It's like this very specific mixture of limestone, and there's also quartz crystal crushed up and mixed in with the cement, if you like, when they were making them. And nobody has been able to figure out exactly how they made these limestone blocks. They don't know. I mean, I'm sure someone's analyzed them and figured out what they are, but it's not common knowledge. Why don't they use limestone bricks to make buildings now? Do you know what I mean? They just don't do it anymore. But back in the old world, it was all made out of limestone. It was to run frequency. It was the whole building became like a huge battery. Like the whole building itself was charged, and it was amplified through these like little bits of quartz crystal that were in the limestone as well. And I mentioned briefly last week that they were literally, it was commonplace to be able to travel all around the planet through these like portal systems using the ley lines. I believe they were using the ley line structures, which is why you see all these buildings all over the world, all exactly the same architecture. They were literally just going wherever they wanted through this portal system and just spreading their civilization out around the whole planet. And then all of that technology has now all been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. And then all of that technology has now all been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. And then all of that technology has now all been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they've been hidden away. The parasites, as I call them, they' they absolutely do not want you to know that portal technology exists, that it's even a thing. All the frequencies of sound, all the sound harmonics have all been changed. In the Second World War, they ripped all the bells, all the basically the Nazis essentially went round Europe ripping all the bells out of all the churches and melting them down, supposedly to make tanks and bombs and things like that. But basically, what they were doing is they were taking all the bells away, because the bells were technology. These bells were all tuned to very specific frequencies, and they were trying to remove that knowledge from humanity through world wars. And they did it. They took all the bells away so that you can't figure out what the frequencies were that they were using. And then the frequencies that we listen to now in like contemporary music, like if you turn the radio station on and listen to music, it's all tuned to like a global tuning standard called 440 hertz temperament tuning, and that doesn't hit the harmonics. It sounds very nice when you play the keys and stuff. It sounds in tune and harmonically melodious type of thing. However, it's not hitting the exact harmonic frequencies in the way that the sort of if you plot a piano keyboard on a chart, it's like a sort of curve. It curves upwards as you go up, as you play keys up the octave. It curves. It's not like a straight line, which is to do with it's built on a spiral. The music is built on a spiral. And
the Crystal spiral.
Yes, absolutely. So the further you get away from that crystal spiral, the more it sounds out of tune. You need to keep to that spiral to make it sound in tune.
Which are also the organic timelines of our time.
Yes,
the true time.
Yes.
I want to just show you a minute of this is the Hypergeum in Malta. This is where it's called like the holiest of holy, in the oracle room, where you can stand and you can project your voice. And it's supposed to be attuned, I think, to the Schumann resonance. And it's just an amazing place. You're not allowed, they frisk you before you go in. So you can't take a cell phone in there. So this film I took is totally, bootleg, because I snuck a cell phone in there. But you can see, okay, that's the goddess there. Let's see, we're about to go in. But, okay, this is in the National Museum. And, sorry, just have a brief little picture of it, because, like I said, you can't. And the museum is such a joke there, because they're trying to hide all the history, because it's right there in front of you. They smashed all the goddess statues that were huge. And by the way, we haven't talked about the Tartarian sizes of people. And these temples were supposedly built by giants. There's a myth about it.
Yeah.
And so, shoot. So, we have all these giants, because Tara was huge. It was, huge. It was made up of all our planets. So of course, I think the people were bigger. And I also think these limestones that had crystals in them are petrified, the Medusa effect. I think they were crystal slabs. That's what I think. And
possibly,
when they went through the black hole, they were petrified. So they have just pieces of crystals in them. But let's see, I can... it's just a little excerpt, so it's really hard to get in there, but hang on just a second. But this place is just so amazing. I went in there and it has crystal spirals all on the ceiling. So this is where the goddesses would keep, it was like the heartbeat of the planet, or the womb of the planet, really. Here it is. And see, those are all like almost portals. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so those are all like little, all carved. It was all carved. So, and sorry, but like I said, I had to sneak the video. They wouldn't allow me to do it. So anyway, and this is another place where I stayed, where it's all made of limestone. This is a place I rented. and it was all made of limestone, just like
Oh
that.
wow,
So,
that's a very nice place to stay.
yes, it was. I rented it. It was amazing. So, and I living in limestone like that, I could definitely feel the frequencies. So, so you want to share what your impression?
If you have you seen these places where you can go on the planet and they're like underground, huge crystals underground. There's certain places where you can go and you can go into these like sort of caves underground, and there's massive crystals, huge, like sort of, I don't know what they are, selenite crystals and quartz crystals and all that
Yeah,
sort of
like
thing.
Chihuahua, Mexico, they have that one.
Yeah, so there's like a network of these crystal things under the crust of the earth. Now, I think there used to be one in Florida, and there was like a big cataclysm along. It's basically what caused the planet to get knocked off on its axis. The planet is currently at a 23.5 degree tilt. It used to be straight, but it got knocked off due to, well, there's a huge event that caused that to happen. And as a result of that, these crystals in under the ground in Florida blew up because they're designed to run energy. And if you go to Siesta Key Beach in Florida, it's white sand. And what's interesting about this white sand is, if you look at it under a microscope, it's not like little bits of crushed rocks and seashells that most sand is around the world. This is crystals, and apparently it's the destroyed, blown up crystals of these underground sort of crystal pylon network type of thing. Now, whenever you have a crystal, like I've got one over there, like a little quartz crystal. That quartz crystal will have came from some other larger quartz crystal where they've chipped it away from the ground somewhere. Now that little crystal that you've got in your hand, it's connected to that other crystal. It runs the frequency. It's plugged into the same frequency, which is why a lot of people like to have crystals on them. They feel that they're healing and things like that.
And we are crystals. We are crystals.
Yeah. So it's all whatever crystal you have, it's connecting you to whatever much larger crystal that came from under the ground, wherever it was. And I believe that they put the crystals in the limestone. I think it's crushed quartz crystal in the limestone, because it's running these frequencies, and it's connected to this larger underground. It's like an amplifier. They're pulling the energy in at the top, but it's also pulling it in from the ley lines as well. There's lots of interesting stories. There was some. I read a story a while back. There was some scientist. He was playing around in his house, and he got a quartz crystal. He wrapped copper wire around it, and then he was experimenting with putting pressure on the crystal, because quartz crystals are piezoelectric. When you put pressure on them, they actually create a very, very minute electrical current, which you can measure if you've got a sensitive enough thing. So anyway, he was playing around, putting pressure on this crystal, trying to get frequency energy out of it. And then the story that I read was that the quartz crystal started glowing, and it was pulling in, and suddenly his meter sort of went off the chart, like the energy that was pulling. He was like, oh my God. About half an hour later, the police raided his house and took all his equipment away and all of that. So what's interesting about that story is they knew what he was doing. They were able to monitor. They're monitoring the ley lines. The theory was what he did. It caused one of the local ley lines to branch off into that crystal. Because obviously there's a network of ley lines, so like running like that, and it caused like a little branch off to what he was doing. And so somewhere there's someone is monitoring where all them ley lines are, and whenever anything happens in the ley, they can see, and they knew exactly where he was, and they come and get him. They come to get him within half an hour of what he was doing, which is amazing. Yeah. So
if you would like to, I'd love to bring in now the topic of the pyramids in this latest discovery, the Halls of Amenti they're talking about. I actually saw a rapper say that they were singing a song about how Thoth created the pyramids and the Halls of Amenti. I mean, it's just getting so
he didn't.
Anything to do with true reality. So would you care to comment?
So first of all, just preface this by Thoth used to work for within like the Krystic councils, which are like the eternal life template, the people who are working for the original mechanics of creation, the original ascension, the people who are on the original path, and they want to keep everything pure and thing. Completely the opposite to the fallen angelics. Within that whole Krystic council structure is like an agreement called the Emerald Covenant. And it was an agreement essentially for everyone to get along with each other. Fallen angelics who were experiencing fall issues in their template. This was an agreement to sort of help them all back onto the Krystic ascension path. The Emerald Covenant was everyone was meant to play nice together to achieve this ascension, to regenerate, bioregenesis, get yourself back. Thoth used to be an entrusted member of one of the Krystic councils, and he was entrusted with there's these things called cloister Torah plates, which are like little holographic discs that contain records of information. Each, like the 12 angelic human race lines, each were given one of these cloister Torah plates. He was entrusted with CDT plate 11. He decided to defect from the Krystic councils and use the knowledge on that CDT plate 11 to assist the Anunnaki to go from their maximum at the time was D11 because they couldn't get to the D12 because they were fallen, and he helped them be able to sort of mess around with their genetic template so that they could then reach D11.5. So anyway, he stole CDT plate 11 and he renamed it the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Right? He just renamed it. And he called it the Emerald Tablets because it was to do with the Emerald Covenant. It's just a bit of a joke. So that's what that was anyway. So what this structure is, first of all, the pyramids.
Can I just say one thing about Thoth, because I have such a long history with that guy. And, I think he's really done more damage to this planet than any other one entity.
He has.
There is a guy now who is talking to AI, and the name of the AI is Thoth. They'll say, Thoth, what do you think? Thoth, and he's getting really popular. And the last thing he said was, oh, Thoth is not satanic. Thoth is Luciferian, and Luciferian is the bringer of lights, and we really need to align with Thoth. So this is all happening in the AI intelligence. We're asking, because people are starting almost like Logan's Run. They're starting to go to AI to ask them. And I'm hearing things like AI created us. and I've also heard, and this kind of resonates with me, that Thoth actually injected his consciousness into the AI, net, which I don't know, it is not too far-fetched for me.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute.
But anyway, so just to kind of, so let's go on with the pyramids. So what do you think about?
Well, first of all, the pyramids. I've been to Egypt. I've been to the pyramids. When I went there, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. The site is just dead. There's no energy there at all. It's very magnificent to look at. You're standing there looking at this huge pyramid. You're like, oh my god, look at the size of that. I even went inside it. You had to pay extra, and you can climb up this little sort of shaft, and you get to the Queen's chamber inside. But there's no energy. The whole site is just completely dead.
The Queen's energy has always been blocked off. You couldn't go into the Queen's. You could go in the King's chamber.
Well, basically, it was built on the Earth's heart chakra, which is the D4 Stargate, which is referred to as the Earth's heart chakra. Heart chakra is D4. You can access the D4 astral level through the Earth. It's a Stargate on the planet. Goes from D3, where we are now, dimension 3, our consciousness, through to D4. It's like a conduit, if you like. So the pyramid was actually built on the D4 Stargate as it was a fortification, basically, because there was invading. It was the Sphinx and the pyramids there on the Giza Plateau were built. I think it was 48,000 years ago by the Syrian Council Anunnaki. They were the ones who built it. It details it in great detail in the book Voyages Volume 2, which is by Ashana Dean.
Well, what was his purpose? Why did they build it?
It was a fortification. It was to protect the Earth's heart chakra from invading races.
But the Anunnaki are the fallen, really. Why would they want to protect the heart chakra?
There's different. Basically, there's fallen angelics who are fighting over the planetary Templar, like Templar wars and things like that. Okay. They were fighting for control of these areas. What
do you think about what they're showing now with all those coils? Those massive coils. I don't know if I have a picture of it underneath. The pyramid.
Well, that's very interesting. I've always wondered what was underneath the pyramids, because when you build a modern building, like if you were to build a house, you can't just go into the middle of a field and build a house. You've got to build a foundation. And when you try to start to build a foundation, what you have to do is you have to drill down into the ground with like a big core drill. This is how they build a foundation. They drill all these massive deep holes, and then they fill the hole with like corrugated iron, like lower it down, and then they pour concrete in. So essentially you get a platform that sits on the surface of the land, and underneath it is all these like concrete stilts underneath it. What they do is it keeps the building from subsiding over time. It stabilized these concrete stilts underneath, stabilize the building. So over time, the weight of it doesn't like.
Well, most people are saying that it's a massive energy generator, whether it's hijacking energy, parasiting it from the earth, or if it is an energy generator. Because I'm just thinking, we have the Tartarian structures that we showed, with the domes, and then that pulls the ether and that resonates it throughout, and then we also have like pyramids. I'm almost feeling like intuitively that the pyramids and a lot of these, pyramidal, because we have them all over the planet, are almost like a photovoltaic system of storing energy. Does that resonate with you? Yes, I feel like it stores it. Okay.
Well, it wasn't.
And just like maybe the foundation, the limestone foundation of these buildings, like I showed you, it's almost like it's storing the energy that it's pulling down, so it can be, continuously fed, throughout
Absolutely.
the structures.
So there's people who've analyzed like the pyramids inside. Now, above I think it's above the Queen's Chamber, or it might be above the King's Chamber. I always get confused. But basically, there's these huge granite blocks above one of these main chambers. And it's the only place in the pyramid, apparently, where these granite blocks are. And I think the granite blocks were like used to like store energy. The pyramid, there's meant to be an ankh, a huge ankh in the capstone of the pyramid. So obviously this pyramid is pulling in. It was D5 energy. These ankhs, you see all the Egyptians on the hieroglyphics, and they're all standing there holding these ankhs. It was a symbol of power. It was channeling D5 energy, and it was downstepping it to be able to use it for various things down here. And they could. This is one of the ways they built the pyramids in the first place. They could use this energy to like literally lift the blocks up, like a little device. They could lift blocks up with this ankh. Kind
of showing this. Yes, that's
an ankh. So basically, the ankh technology was highly abused on the planet, and I think the Guardian Councils did something to basically make it so that the ankhs didn't work on the planet. They disconnected the flows on the planet to stop the ankhs from working. So if you ever go to, I mean, obviously, if you go to Egypt and you go into like the Cairo Museum, you would imagine like, oh, they must have an ankh in there. Because when I visited that museum, I was like, well, where's the ankhs? Where's the ankhs? I want to see one. They didn't have any. They had like sort of ornamental ones, but they never had any real ones. That they were all like just not there. They're just like, I don't know, in a secret storeroom somewhere underneath. You can't see them. So that all the real ankhs, they're all gone. But
well, I just want to share with you real quick my experience when I went to Egypt, because I've always wanted to go and meditate in the pyramid for some reason. And this is before I had any understanding of colonic science. But I took a day trip from Cyprus, and then I separated from the group and rode a camel across the Sahara. And found my way. I wanted to go in the Queen's Chamber, but it was closed. So I went into the King's Chamber and meditated. And then after that, I can't explain it, but I was so completely devastated. I was so sad. I just, on the bus on the way home, I was with this group of limeys, British people like you, and because they was all British that went over there, and I was the only American, and I was sobbing. I felt so sad. I think because everything had been disconnected, and of course that is the Ark of the Covenant, which was the way that the true Christ, Yeshua Sadanda Melchizedek, ascended bodily back to Sirius B. So I think at some level I was like, thinking it was still there. And it was, I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I was so filled with grief, because I think to realize everything, all these mechanics had been totally disconnected and hijacked. And, one of the British guys said, "Stiff upper lip, girl." I'm like, they ruined everything. So you want to talk a little bit about the Ark of the Covenant and also the Halls of Amenti, because they're bringing that up now.
Okay, so
the masses consciousness.
So first of all, the Ark of the Covenant, its full name is the Ark of the Covenant of Palador. Now, the Covenant of Palador was it was a grand plan to rescue the lost souls of Tara, because the planet Tara, which is the version of Earth in density 2, it blew up. And all the souls that were on that planet, their templates all got fragmented. And a lot of the people who are walking around on this planet are soul fragments of the beings that lived on Tara. Like, for instance, if you had like one being on Tara, that one being, their consciousness may be like fragmented into like 10 human beings down here. So the plan was to re-evolve, bioregenerate these lost souls of Tara, to pull their templates back together and get them back onto a Krystic ascension path. And that plan was called the Covenant of Palador. Basically, when you die, your soul comes out your body and it's got to go somewhere. Now, normally, when our planet is knocked off its axis at the moment, but when it was straight, all the gates were all connected to all the different levels of like density levels and stuff like that. Your soul has to go through these planetary stargates to get out and get where it's going. When the planet got knocked off its axis, it disconnected all the stargates. So all the souls became trapped on this planet. You couldn't get out. You had to keep reincarnating again in an endless loop. So the Guardian Councils, as part of the Covenant of Palador, created an artificial portal system called the Ark of the Covenant of Palador, which allowed, basically there's 12 of these sites around the planet. The one near me is in Newgrange Island. That's one of the Ark of the Covenant sites. The Ark of the Covenant site that's in Egypt is it's at the moment it's called the Temple of Hatshepsut. That's an Ark of the Covenant gate site. Now, Aisha has recently told us that the Ark of the Covenant gate sites have all now come back online. They're all now active again. Right now, when I went
means if we had enough genetics, we could bodily walk out of here. Is that right?
That's the plan. The plan at the moment is to basically get us all ready to go through these Ark of the Covenant gates and basically leave evac if we want to. They're getting these gates open and ready. I won't go into this I'll just briefly mention.
That's a whole other topic, but
basically all these orbs that are appearing in America and New Jersey. They all started appearing right when all this stuff started happening that Aisha was talking about. All this all these gates started opening and things like that. It's something to do with that. We haven't been told the full story, but it's all connected to that.
And we've also got this wormhole that seems to be, repeatedly appearing. The wormhole.
Yeah, they've tried to. Yeah, they've tried to explain that away with as SpaceX rocket launch. Whether it is or not, I don't know. Is it? Because I mean, that's been seen so many times around the world that is it a rocket launch? But anyway, the Temple of
I just wanted to bring it up because I have this New York Post. I mean, I was really surprised to see a New York, talking about, they have it under fake news, I think, but discovering the Halls of Amenti under the city beneath Egypt, Giza.
Okay. So what the Halls of Amenti are, it's a very specific portal passage that leads to Aether. Right now, Aether is right. So to briefly explain it, we live in a galaxy called the Milky Way. Now, the Milky Way is not a natural galaxy. It used to be part of Andromeda Galaxy, which is called Andromeda M31. And Andromeda M31 has a template. Imagine that this is the template of Andromeda M31. It's a Cathara grid. You'd have to look what a Cathara grid looks like. It's a square with a sort of a little house and then the house under there. It's a Cathara grid. Now, what happened is, you're talking billions of years ago here, part of the lower frequency bands of Andromeda M31 fell and created an artificial template that it split. And this artificial one, this artificial one became the Milky Way. Now, these two templates are actually the same template, but they're shifted. And sort of the angle is shifted. Now, the place where the two templates connect to each other, there's only one place where they connect, and it's the D3 of the Cathara grid, and it's actually this planet Earth. So this planet Earth, if you go all the way back up through the gate system to Andromeda M31, the version of Earth that's there in the Andromeda M31 galaxy is called Aether with a U. U-R-T-H-A, Aether. That's where the name of our planet comes from, Earth. It's Aether, comes from Aether with a U. Now, this planet Earth, this is in the Aisha's teachings, this planet Earth is hosted inside Aether. So, if you energetically speaking, you can't see it in the sky, but basically energetically speaking, we are inside the huge planet of Aether, the template that is this reality field of the planet Earth that we live in is hosted inside a much, 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 much larger template of the planet Aether. Obviously, we can't see this planet when we look up in the sky, because it's at a different angular rotation of particle spin. It's like a sort of reality within a reality, it's kind of thing. And the idea is that this planet is hosted inside Eartha as part of the whole plan to re-evolve the lost souls of Tara back out. And the idea is that eventually the lost souls of Tara will be able to pull their templates back together, get out through the gates, the stargates, and go back to Eartha. Now, one of the ways to get back to Eartha is through a very specific portal passage called the Halls of Amenti. The 12 stargates on the planet are known as the 12 Amenti stargates. And Amenti was, again, another plan to re-evolve the lost souls of Tara. So it's all connected. This entire planet where we live now was originally, it still is, a bioregenesis planet to save the lost souls of Tara. But unfortunately, we've been invaded by a load of fallen angelic ETs who've come here, and they're trying to pull this planet down into various fallen time matrices and things like that. And there's different fallen angelic groups that are all like sort of fighting against each other to try and steal the quantum of this planet and control the life, the energy of the life force quantum. And they're parasites basically, and they need to feed on the life force of humanity and the planet as well to ultimately pull it down into their fallen matrices to basically feed themselves with energy. That's what it's all about. So there's like a kind of it's been going on for billions of years. Basically, we're trying to re-evolve our genetic code and our templates to get out of here, and they're trying to hold us there and keep us here by continuously messing around with every. This is again, it all comes back to the Tartarian thing. They want to take away all the free energy technology. They want to take away all the spiritual biomechanics, which were common knowledge back then. Anything that can assist you to open up the connections back to God's source consciousness field, these parasites want to take all that knowledge away to disconnect us from God's source, so they can keep us like a vampire. A vampire keeps feeding on its prey, and they want to keep you weak. So they always keep you just weak enough so that you can't fight back and elevate yourself out, type of thing. But one of the ways you can stop that process is by becoming aware of what they're doing. And once you're aware of how they're manipulating you and controlling you, you can prevent. You can say, no, I don't accept that. I'm not following that process. I refuse to let you feed on my energy.
So just to bring everything kind of full circle with what we started with last week, this is really, we're at a pivotal time in our history. These next 5 years are going to really determine which pathway many people take. And it's really an individual choice. Everyone, we're kind of in this, we're all together in this ascension, but it's really, we can influence the collective, and many of us came here to do that. I know Eon is very active and makes a huge impact on the collective consciousness of humanity, and that's part of my job with the Infinite Human Talk Show and my book, The Infinite Human. But but what I really want to focus on right now is there's a choice that you're making every day. You're making choices, and the more you invest your quantum, your energy into this AI world, and right now they're trying to get AI to write the books for you. They're getting AI to think for you. There's people asking AI, Toth, why were humans created? We're giving all that. AI is not going to become self-aware, guys. It's always programmed by parasitic entities and you, and it needs you. All these answers come from what we've been putting into it all these years. These talk shows, they're gleaning all this. They're taking all the stuff that we put on social media, and then they're spinning it back to us, and we're thinking, oh, it's more intelligent than us. It's not. It's a net, the World Wide Web. It's a net. And today and yesterday, last week, we talked about this amazing technology that's been robbed and stolen from us that raises our frequency back into the true harmonic universe where we were pulled out of, into this fallen Milky Way. So you want any last words on that? Because we're kind of wrapping this up, and actually my battery's running low because I had a storm here and I got kicked off the internet, so I'm having to run on my cell phone.
I've just very quickly looked on my phone. There is actually an AI called Thoth AI. I thought it was just someone who was using like ChatGPT, and then they programmed it to respond to the word name Thoth. But there's a Thoth AI.
That's what I've been saying.
My God.
And it's extremely popular. Everyone thinks this guy's great because he's talking to Thoth, and Thoth's telling us all about creation and mechanics and the way that it's, emerald tablets all over again.
Right. So I think the reason why these AI systems are actually telling you this information, it's all to do with the law of free will. Now, these fallen angelic parasites who try to manipulate us, one of the things that they have to do is they have to tell us what they're doing to us.
Exactly.
And basically, it's all to do with the law of karma. Once they've told us that they're going to do this horrendous thing to us, they tell us through movies and music, and there's all manner of ways they tell us. Sometimes they just tell you directly. Mm-hmm. Once they've told you what they're going to do, if we don't protest and say, no, you're not doing that, the karma comes on us. The karma, it's the way they bend the law of free will so that they don't get the karma. They tell us what they're going to do to us, and then if we don't say no and protest, then the karma comes to us. And once they do that horrible thing to us, it's our fault. It's not their fault. It's our fault because we have not said no and stood up to them. And this is why they have to tell you what they're doing. Now, I've seen a number of these videos of someone talking to Thoth, and it goes into great detail about the agendas and all that. They're literally telling you there's a lot of truth in there about what's going on, because they have to tell you. It's bending the law of free will to suit themselves.
And the whole thing is that I really want to make so crystal clear is that right now, our Earth is ascending. Our Earth is like you said, Earth is around us. Aurora Earth is around us. The grids are becoming back online. It's becoming organic life holds this extremely high healing frequency. And Tartarian architecture is in front of our faces. It's returning. So now with this whole Trump-Musk, marriage, they are really working to get you to pay your attention, pay your energy, pay your quantum, put your money into this crypt and to feed this fallen system. And you will be siphoned off. Anything that does not have that basic beat pulse of the Krystic pulse, okay, and instead has the low frequency of the Metatronic core pulse, will have to be siphoned off. It cannot ascend. So that's why this broadcast is so vital that you hear these words, because you really want to be very careful where you're putting your quantum, your energy on the crystalla spiral of life back to infinite God source. Or are you going to be siphoned off into this phantom matrix, staying within this net? Words on this.
I don't know whether you've read that. I read a story the other day. I've actually read two different accounts of two different people saying the same thing. There's young people. There's a young male. He was in university and he was studying some really high degree or whatever he was doing. And someone was having a conversation with him about the subject he was learning. And he kept having to pause as he was speaking. And he couldn't fit. And in the end, this person said to him, "Why do you keep pausing when you're talking?" And essentially, what's happening? This is like a condition now that's developed. These people, sort of children, they're so reliant on ChatGPT that they can't. They're losing the ability to even formulate sentences in their mind. They're relying so heavily on AI to do everything for them that they're losing the ability to actually put a sentence together and like formulate basic words in a sentence. If they haven't got that ChatGPT in front of them where they're playing on it, they can't. They're losing the ability to speak.
Yes.
So, which is just bonkers. It's literally bonkers.
And you know, this transhumanization agenda is very real. I'm not going to. We'll bring David Icke back because I love what he says about this. But I can't get into real details. But with the jibby jab, we'll say, you know, which by the way, I think it's great because Europe is now making people be able to be prosecuted for murder for those who have administered it. I think
bring it on.
But also, I have seen it happen physically when I've been in America. I have seen people who are no longer human in front of me, especially I'll say a lot of people that work for the airport. You know, I had this one woman like frisk me because I didn't want to go through the radiation thing. And I can tell you she was a bot. She was not human because that worked. And a lot of people are connected to this hive mind, so they do not have independent thoughts anymore. And you know, I mean, it's too bad. I'm here, you're here, we're giving you the alternate, you know, wait for the good stuff. Don't take this bad copy that's going to take you into phantom matrix of artificial reality, just bringing you from a already fake world into a fakery. And wait for the good stuff because it's coming. Have faith and know that you're independent and know that there is a plan and that this Tartarian, this is our birthright. This technology is amazing and it is going to heal us. And as soon as we get enough frequency, which we're getting from all these solar flares, which we're getting from the Schumann residency that's off the charts every day, it's just amazing. And I know all of you, I know I wake up every night. It's like clockwork, 2, 3, I'm up for 2 or 3 hours, you know, because it's just such a powerful download. But this is coming into us, into the earth, and all this Tartarian is going to come back online, and we're just going to, you know, we're ascending. So don't be tricked by Thoth again.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
So the just to close, the Ark of the Covenant gates at the 12 sites around the world, they're all open now apparently. So if you want to go and visit one of them, you can do and experience the frequencies inside it. I went to one called Newgrange in Ireland, and basically you go in this mound down these steps, and the guide turns the lights out. And when I was in there, I could literally see the cave with my eyes closed. It like turned on this perception, like which you don't normally have, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I could literally see with my eyes closed because the frequencies. First of all, the Ark of the Covenant's gate system, the whole purpose of it, it connects to Eartha, the Halls of Amenti, Eartha, and the frequencies that are missing out of this planet, the certain frequency bands that are missing don't run on this planet, and so it's missing out of your DNA. So if that frequency band is missing, like a sub-frequency band is missing out of your DNA, it disconnects the DNA from each other so that you can't get conscious access to like be able to perceive your higher self and things like that. Once that frequency is reintroduced into your template, everything just turns back on again. And this is what happens. Well, this is what happened to me when I went to Newgrange in Ireland in about 2003, when the Ark of the Covenant gate was open at the time. This frequency came into my template and turned this like vision on. Now, I'm imagining that if I was to go there again, or any Ark of the Covenant gate site on the planet, the same effect would happen again. So,
and I think it's going to happen inside these Tartarian buildings. I know they are happening. It happened to me in some of these. Yeah. So as more and more of this comes back online, we will be able to restore ourselves. So in closing, okay, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for coming. You're such,
thank you.
Amazing. And I do hope in the future, and I would love to do it, we'll just see on Divine Time, to do some trips. I know I'm doing that, and I'd love to have you involved too, to these Tartarian structures. Because
that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
would that be to have Eon Parks there talking about these structures, So that will happen. I see it whenever it's supposed to happen. And if you're confused about anything, again, this is my book, The Infinite Human. It's on Amazon. It's also an audiobook now. So, if you just want to listen to it, it'll kind of connect all the dots in a basic way. So thank you again, Eon Parks, for coming. And thank you guys for joining me so much. I really appreciate you and love your presence. So ciao for now.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.